Coming up on this episode of the Next Man Up podcast, brought to you by the Press Play Podcast Network, Kenny Roden and I talk Browns Patriots as the Browns lost 27-13 on Sunday, October 27th in Foxborough, Mass. Among the items that we go over, Roadman has a fiery speech for the Cleveland Browns if he were standing in front of all of their personnel in the wake of 2-5. Welcome, everybody, to the latest edition of the Next Man Up podcast, brought to you by the Press Play Podcast Network and producer director extraordinaire Chase Smith. I'm Dennis Maniloff, co-host, along with Kenny Rhoda, co-host, and we are going to be talking tonight about the Browns' 27-13 loss to the Patriots at Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, Massachusetts. Roadman, as I watched this game unfold, I couldn't help but think of this. Losing teams do what losing teams do. They lose. Winning teams do what winning teams do. They lose. Meaning, winners just find ways to win. They create ways to win. And the losers find ways to lose and create ways to lose. And that's what kept coursing through my veins. What say you?
Freddie Kitchens, I just sit here and scratch my head at some of the things that Freddie Kitchens does for this football team, DMan. And I'm thinking, here's what I thought. What the hell did they do for 2 weeks? That's the best they could offer in the first quarter, preparing for Belichick and Brady for 2 weeks. And you come out there and you turn the ball over 3 times on 3 consecutive plays. The weather, it's raining, it's pouring, and you try and throw the ball on the first 4 downs right out of the gate and ignore Nick Chubb. Now, yeah, Chubb fumbles twice. It was, 2 of those plays were on him. But still, Freddie Kitchens, to me, D-Man, the turnovers, to me, that a lot of that is discipline. The penalties, 13 more. All that is discipline right there. The inability of this football team to play 4 consecutive quarters, the lack of consistency, to me, that's discipline. This is a Freddie Kitchens problem as much as it is a Baker Mayfield problem or a Nick Chubb fumbling problem or an Odell Beckham Jr. can't catch the ball in big situations problem. For me, it starts with Freddie Kitchens and then just trickles on down from there. So that's what I thought of when I'm watching this game unfold, and it's 17-0 New England. That's the best you could. What the hell did you do for 2 weeks? What was the game plan? What were you preparing to do for 2 weeks? I just sat there and I could not. I was at Jersey Sports Bar in Canton with the Browns backers of Stark County, and everybody's asking me, what the hell's Freddie doing? I'm like, I don't know what the hell he's doing. Don't ask me. I can't figure it out.
He was all primed for this chess match with the great Bill Belichick, who was seeking his 300th victory, combined regular season and postseason, and, of course, got it to join Shula and Hallis in the exclusive club.
But, D-Man, the problem there was that Belichick was playing chess and Freddie Kitchen was playing Chinese checkers or something. He was playing Candyland or something. There was no comparison.
Yeah, you saw that first series, and here was the thing. You had the Browns defense come out and allow 1 first down to Brady and the boys, but then they hold and force the punt, and Kitchens decides, okay, I'm sure Bill Belichick thinks I'm just going to hand the ball to Nick Chubb, so I'm going to show him a thing or two by throwing the ball, slinging the ball around the yard in the rain on the road against a dominant type defense, and, oh, by the way, on an undefeated team. And that doesn't work out too well as the Browns go 3 and out. And then at the beginning of the second possession that the Browns had, they threw the first time, as you referenced. Tony Romo, who was doing the analyst work with Jim Nantz on the play-by-play for CBS, he wondered why the Browns didn't start the game with Nick Chubb. And, of course, I get that some of the cynics would say, well, look what Chubb did. He gave the ball to the Patriots, his first 2 touches. Well, hold on a second. the first one, I'm really not going to put on Nick Chubb because, as we all saw, Joel Bitonio somehow, some way, as I said, losing teams do this. Somehow the Bitonio was kicking the ball out of Chubb's hands, and you say, well, or his gloves, and you say, well, he's got to hang on to the ball regardless. I don't know that you can anticipate one of your offensive linemen having his legs fly up and knock the ball out of your hand. It becomes a scoop and score. So I don't put the first fumble on Chubb, but definitely the second fumble when, the beginning of the third possession when he runs for that. He has a long run and he's inside the 20 and he just gets it hatcheted out of there. That is on Chubb, and you could see how distraught he was. I'm glad that Chubb did not let it affect him the rest of the game, and he did have a productive stat line, but obviously the two fumbles are pretty glaring. But yeah, it was a strange start to be throwing the ball in the rain against Belichick's defense on the road. And of course, I didn't listen to all of Kitchens' post-game presser, but I'm sure if he's asked about it, or if he were asked about it, he would say, oh, I got confidence in my guys. I want to be aggressive, but it really wasn't the time to do that. You needed to give the rock to Chubb out of the gate, especially after you held the Patriots on the first possession.
Whoop-de-hell. I mean, this guy, DMan, week after week after week, he looks more overmatched, every time I watch him. We thought that Pat Shermer had that deer in the headlights look. I don't know what the hell's going on with Freddie Kitchens, man. I mean, think about this. Week 1, they had 18 penalties. Here it is. Game 1, they had 18 penalties. This is week 8, but it's game 7 for the Browns. 13 penalties. They're not getting any better. The discipline is as bad, if not worse, 7 games into the season than it was in week number 1. So to me, discipline is on the head coach. You've got to somehow, some way, make these guys pay in practice, in games, whatever. When they jump off sides before the ball's even snapped 4 or 5 times, and it's a wide receiver, it's a tight end, it's an offensive lineman, so you yank that guy out of there. There's got to be consequences, whether you find them, you take them out for a series, you sit them for a half, you do something. There's got to be consequences for the stupidity of some of these penalties by these Browns players, game after game, week after week, quarter after quarter, play after play, and that starts with the damn head coach.
Yeah, Roadman. Well, listen, some of it I think is on Kitchens, but I don't think you can absolve the players themselves for these mistakes because the coach is not the one out there with the flags being thrown against them. But I get your overarching point that it is ultimately the head coach's team. He's responsible for all that happens underneath him, even if it's not necessarily his fault. You speak of 2 penalties. 2 of the ones you speak of, just head scratching, end of the third quarter, the Browns decide they're going to send the third quarter out with a false start. And then they're going to open the fourth quarter with a false start, the second one by Odell Beckham Jr. So the Browns go from 1st and 10 to 1st and 20. Just you would say a comedy of errors, but it's not funny around here.
DMan, maybe Odell Beckham Jr. should worry more about the snap count than getting goat hair cleats to give to Tom Brady after the damn game. Okay, focus on we heard Freddie say, do your job. Well, Odell Beckham, did he drop a pass today? Yes, he did on a big third down play that could have extended a drive. Did he jump offsides? Yes. Focus on your job and not worshiping at the altar of the GOAT Tom Brady.
Roadman, you mentioned that. Did that in fact take place after the game? Because I was doing a show for WTAM. I did not see any exchange of shoes, but I'd read that he had shoes with goat hair on them.
Right, that's what I'm referring to, D-Man. Now, I didn't watch it afterwards because I got in the car and hightailed it home, to do some work for WHBC on the website and all that. So I don't know if he actually went through with it, but that was the big thing leading up to this week's game, that he was going to give him these goat hair spikes that he had specially made for him. So instead of spending time and worrying about that, How about learning what your the cadence is from your starting quarterback so you don't jump off sides, or maybe catch a ball that's thrown to your back shoulder for a first down on third down near the sideline.
Roadman, we'll get to the cadence issue in a second because Baker Mayfield addressed it. But did you happen to see or hear about the OBJ before the game kicking balls
Yes.
as a pretend field goal kicker?
I saw the video before the game, D-Man. He goes out there and he takes it and he spins it with his hand at about the 20-yard line and kicks it through the uprights. And I think on Twitter someone said OBJ wants Belichick to see him do this or something. I don't know if he made sure Belichick saw it. And then our producer extraordinaire, Chase Smith, just sent me a photo of OBJ after the game giving the goat hair cleats to Tom Brady, and Baker Mayfield's looking on right behind him as well, if this picture is legit from what Chase sent me. So, again, this team, D-Man, there are so many things that are just, I don't want to say, out of control, and that's being allowed by the head coach. It starts at the top, man. It's whoop-de-hell's fault. I'm putting this on whoop-de-hell for these guys not being focused, catching the ball, jumping off sides, two pass interference calls on the offensive guy. I mean, come on, man. Oh, yeah, 0 for 2 in challenges today. Nice job, Freddie.
Well, here's the thing. The OBJ stuff really bothers me because we were sold about what a transcendent player this guy is and how he's a game changer and all this stuff. Another pedestrian day for OBJ. I think it's 5 catches, 51 yards, inconsequential. Regardless of the platitudes that Belichick threw in through the Browns way during the week, and he talked about Beckham in glowing terms. You can't tell me that Belichick and the Patriots were all that concerned about what Odell Beckham was going to do to him, especially when they know that they've got Beckham beat before he even steps on the field. That's the problem with genuflecting at the altar of the legends. Is the legends, the team that you're trying to beat, they know they've got you beat because they're in your head. And Beckham with his nonstop, I would love to play for Bill Belichick. I would have loved to play for him, blah, 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 blah. And then the goat hair cleats, and then you hear about him kicking. Hey, by the way, why are you kicking when your hip was supposed to be an issue at the outset of the season? And I'm hearing, on the WTAM postgame show, I'm getting from the OBJ apologists, you can't expect him to be productive. He's got a hip issue. Well, if he does, what's he doing kicking balls before the game? That doesn't make any sense.
This team is a complete mess right now, D-Man. They're 2-5. Now, having said that, D-Man, here we go.
Save the season.
We're gonna. Here's the crazy thing about this. When I did the schedule game before the season started, okay, after 7 games, I had them at 3-4 en route to winning the division at 10-6. Okay, so they're 1 game off my prediction, but it's the way they're losing games that's so bothersome, D-Man. Yeah, this schedule gets easier for them. Joe Flacco, if they can't beat Denver, I don't care where they would play him. And Joe Flacco's the quarterback. Dude is 35 going on 80, and he runs about as fast as a snail in quicksand. And they should sack him, 6, 7, 8 times. They can still save the season if they can just focus on the little things, the fundamental things that keep hurting them each and every series, each and every game, D-Man. It's frustrating. They have the talent to play with almost every team in the league. They do. It's there on paper, but whoop-de-hell, as Freddie probably one thing he did get right was saying, look, it doesn't matter if it's on paper. We got to do it on the field. My question is, can he get them turned around in time to save this season starting next week in a must-win game at Denver?
Well, first of all, I agree with you about the urgency that there needs to be against the Broncos. But listen, this is a Broncos team that, Flacco is getting old or is already old in NFL terms and not what he once was. but the Denver defense is no joke. And the Broncos went into Lucas Oil on Sunday afternoon and played the Indianapolis Colts, who are a really nice team, even without Andrew Luck. Played them to the final minute, and it took an Adam Vinatieri bomb inside of a minute to go to beat the Broncos. So this is not going to be a walkover. But as I'm talking to you, I'm getting the photo that you got from Chase Smith, and this is really getting my blood pressure up to see this. Now, to actually see photographic evidence of this, it doesn't make any sense at all. You just got punked in Foxborough, 27-13, and you got to show Tom your goat hair cleats. Are you kidding me with that? What is that? Assuming that photo is true, I mean, is accurate, and somehow it wasn't all Photoshopped. This is ridiculous to me. If you're going to do that, do it in the tunnel. You don't have to do it out in front of everybody. And what does this say? I mean, you just got beat. Oh, look at my shoes. I got you, Tom. Oh, what is that? Come on. And again, the OBJ apologist. Oh, Dennis, you don't understand what a competitor OBJ is. You don't understand what a competitor he is. Well, you know what? How many playoff games has OBJ played? That's right, one. One game he's played in the postseason. Admittedly, not his fault necessarily, but this guy, what is he? He's not leading you anywhere. He doesn't know how to lead a winner. He's played in one playoff game. But you got to sit there and watch him kicking field goals and spinning balls and catching one-handed and handing off goat-haired cleats to Tom Brady. And you're supposed to go, oh, we're so lucky to have OBJ on the field. Really? Well, it's funny. He hasn't prevented you from going 2-5. And one of the wins was a garbage victory over the trash Jets. All right, I'm sorry. It was a quality victory, but it was against a dilapidated team. And, oh, by the way, that happened to be the game that Beckham had his most productive performance. So this guy is already wearing on me. I thought I saw him, correct me if I'm wrong, Roadman and Chase, flapping his arms on that one overthrow in the fourth quarter, looking like he was mad at somebody for missing him, even though Romo hinted that he should have continued the route instead of stopping it. But you talk about Kitchens, I'm focusing on OBJ. There's problems everywhere with this team. I submit Baker Mayfield wasn't all that today either. Chase and I in the pregame or pre-show disagreed. Chase said, he thought Baker played well. I'm looking at a sub 200-yard performance. I don't see anything that he does that makes the defense go, oh my gosh, we really got to worry about X, Y, or Z from Baker Mayfield, because he's certainly not going to make plays with his legs. If you keep him in the pocket, what's he doing that's gonna kill you? Now, in his defense, raining wasn't easy to throw the ball. I understand that. He was going up against the league's #1 defense, but to me, yet another pedestrian performance for Baker Mayfield in 2019.
Here's what's staggering about Baker Mayfield, D-Man. These are the numbers that are staggering about Baker Mayfield. I just was looking at this a little bit ago before we came, together to do this Press Play podcast, Next Man Up podcast. Baker Mayfield, 27 games played in the National Football League, 33 touchdown passes, 30 turnovers. That includes interceptions and fumbles combined, fumbles lost. 30 turnovers. He's +3. You want a 2-to-1 ratio in your touchdown passes and touchdown runs to interceptions and fumbles. He's a +3. 33 TD passes, 30 turnovers. He's averaging at least one turnover plus per game in the National Football League, and that's got to change. Now, Not all of those picks are his fault. I will give him that. But every quarterback can say that, where a receiver drops a ball, it pops up in the air and it gets picked off. But he's got to value the football more. He's got to make better throws. He's got to hold on to the football better, because you can't have your leader on offense coming in every game where as a defense, he's going to give the ball up at least once, maybe twice a game. Not against the elite. You can do that against the Jets, whose quarterback sees ghosts and everything like that. But you can't do that against the better teams, and you won't be able to do that in these remaining, 9 games where you have to go 7-2 to just have a shot at making the playoffs.
Yeah, Roadman, as I was doing the WTAM post-game show, I wasn't able to hear all of the Kitchens presser or all of the Baker presser, but I did hear bits and pieces. We played a few minutes on the air, and one thing caught my ear in particular when Mayfield was talking about the penalties, and he said that, he talked about the value of cadence, and he's basically saying if we continue to commit these penalties, these false start penalties, then I can't use cadence to my advantage. And a quarterback absolutely needs cadence to help him gain an advantage over the defense. And Mayfield is saying, my hands are tied when my guys are jumping offside, and I can't use cadence. So that was an interesting sort of enlightening nugget that he provided. I want to fast forward to the fourth quarter. And
Please. I think I know where you're going. Yeah, I know where you're going. Go ahead.
You or Chase have got to help me with this, because as I said, we were on the air as the game was ending. So we're watching it on the air in the final 4 minutes, and this sequence took place. So please help me here. Browns 4th and 11.
Yeah.
Down by 1 million late in the fourth quarter, mid-fourth. You got to go for it, but they come out with Jamie Gillan. I'm thinking, all right, what is this all about? Then there's a false start, I believe, or a procedure penalty. Now it's 4th and 16. Now Mayfield comes out, and you go for it on 4th and 16. What in the world was going on there?
D-Man, I'm looking at the play-by-play right now. It was 3rd and 11 at the Cleveland 24, and Mayfield's incomplete to Beckham. So it brings up 4th and 11. Clock is stopped at the Cleveland 24 with 6:17 left. Browns are down 27-10, and the punting unit comes out. Then they get a penalty for a false start. So instead of 4th and 11 at the 24, now you back them up 5. It's 4th and 16 at their own 19, and Freddie sends the offense back out there to go for it on 4th and 16 from their own 19-yard line. And Mayfield, and number one, stupid decision on Freddie Kitchens' part. Number two, Mayfield can't be worrying about whether or not he's intercepted on this pass or not. He's got to somehow get rid of the football. He cannot take a sack in that situation. He's got to throw it up for grabs and hope maybe Odell can make one of those spectacular one-handed catches, or maybe they get a pass interference penalty. If it falls incomplete, so what? If it's intercepted, so what? You got to get it out there. And he takes the sack, which compound 2 wrongs don't make a right. Freddie going for it, and then Baker getting sacked. That just right then and there, it's like my head exploded. I felt like I was in the movie Scanners. My head just exploded, and it just blew my mind that Freddie made the mistake, and then Baker made a mistake on top of it.
Well, Chase just texted me and probably texted you, Roadman. Nathan Zagura of the Cleveland Browns Network reported on the side. Nathan's a good sideline reporter. Reported on the sideline during the game, the false start was intentional to, quote, save a timeout.
What?
Freddie intended to go for it on 4th and 11, but didn't want to waste a timeout.
Why did he send the punting unit out there then to begin with?
Exactly. And you know what? Now that I think of it, as we were putting together the show as the Browns game was ending, I thought I heard Tracy Wolfson report a similar item, the CBS sideline reporter, similar to that somehow he was trying to save a timeout, so he intentionally took the false start, and then he decided to go for it. It just didn't make any sense to me. I'm sure Freddie Kitchens can adequately explain it at some point, but it didn't make sense then. It doesn't make sense to me now. And to me, it's just symbolic of a team that was pretty much beaten before it even took the field. That's how I viewed today's game. That this team was going to lose. It was just a matter of score. How badly was Belichick going to beat them? But to me, they were beaten before they even got off the bus.
So they spotted him 17 points and then played him to a 10-10 tie after that. You know, if you're looking for moral victories, right?
Okay.
I guess, oh, hey, great finish. Almost. You know what? It's Belichick, of course, gets his first win ever in the NFL as the head coach of the Browns against who, D-Man? The Patriots,
yeah.
right? He gets win number 300 today as the head coach of the Patriots, of course, against the Browns. The irony in that, and of course, 6 Super Bowls to go with it. Head scratching, but not as head scratching as Freddie Kitchens as the head coach.
Roadman,
go ahead.
I got another one that's scratching the head.
Yeah,
what in the world is going on with Hollywood Higgins in 2019? What is this whole thing? I mean, he was out there today, thank goodness. But yeah. I only saw him in garbage time. Did I miss something?
I was wondering
out there
the same
early
thing.
In the game.
I didn't
know. See it.
I didn't see it either, and I was wondering the same thing. And then he comes in late in the game, and what he catch? 1 ball, I think, for 2 yards or something like that. But that's the security blanket of Baker Mayfield, and they're in love for whatever reason with Antonio Callaway, who's been a problem since they drafted him. So I again add that to the list of questionable decisions. In-game X's and O's, challenges, timeouts, taking penalties on purpose, throwing the ball when you should run the ball when you should throw it. Hey, Mr. Jimmy and Miss D and John Dorsey, you got to sit down and try and figure out what the hell is going to go on for the last 9 games.
And here's the thing about Higgins, too. If I'm Baker Mayfield, I wish I were, because I'd be a number 1 overall pick and handsomely paid and all that other stuff. But if I were Mayfield, after the Seattle game, I would have gone to Kitchens and said, what in the world are we doing with Rashard Higgins? Why is he only available in a specialty package for this particular game? And then with the Patriots, why is he not out there early on? And like you said, it's probably because they prefer Callaway over Higgins. But I just don't understand how Higgins can fall that far into a doghouse, even if the Browns claim there is no such thing. Or
Freddie doesn't know what a doghouse is and what a bullseye is. So that's 2 things we've determined since the beginning of the season.
They got, and here's the other problem too. The Browns, by Tony Romo's observation, had done a pretty darn good job with both of their interior lines. And he said that the Browns' offensive and defensive lines were dictating the terms, for the most part, to their counterparts on the Patriots. You wasted a game in which your lines held up reasonably well, especially the defensive line. This was the first time I can remember, maybe I'm wrong, but the first time I can remember this season where not 1, not 2, but 3 guys were prominent: Garrett, Vernon, and Richardson. Because for too often it had been Garrett sack here, Garrett sack there, maybe a play by Vernon, maybe a play by Richardson, maybe Ogunjobi every once in a while. This time you actually had a defensive line that was doing work, and you still got punked 27-13.
The defense played well enough to win today, D-Man. All right, they gave up 20 points. Take the first touchdown off the board for the defense because it was scored by New England's defense, right? But here's
the other Roman, the other TD was the short field off the off the third intercept, or the first interception.
I know, but it still happened against the defense. So I'm gonna take the one where it was a scoop and score for Hightower and the Patriots. 20 points. You hold Tom Brady and the Patriots to 20 points, you got a shot at winning that football game. But D-Man, I wrote some notes down here. 3rd and 10 at the New England 15. Browns had just made it a 7-point game. It's 17-10 New England in the third quarter. New England gets the ball back. It's 3rd and 10 at the New England 15-yard line. Got to get off the field, right? The Browns defense got to come up with a play, get off the field. They give up a 60-yard screen pass to the Browns 25-yard line. Then 3rd and 1, same drive, Sheldon Richardson has a chance to make a tackle for a 3-yard loss on Sony Michel. Instead, he whiffs. Michel gets the first down instead of forcing the field goal. They go in and score a touchdown. So as good as the defense played, they did not create a turnover, D-man. They had chances to get off the field on 3rd down where it could have impacted the game, and they failed to do so. I hate to, rag on the defenses. Like I said, I thought they played well enough to win, but that's what separates in the NFL the great from the good from the bad from the awful. And right now, I don't know where the Browns are. They're not awful. They're bad. Look at the penalties. Look at the turnovers, right? But at times they play good. It's frustrating to see this talent. And a buddy of mine texted me when I got home. He said, Roadman, here's the problem. You've got a talented football team that has some veteran players with a rookie head coach. They should have hired a veteran head coach if they were trying to win this year and win soon, not learn the game on the job with Freddie Kitchens, and it might take you 2 or 3 years. And he brings up a very valid point.
Yeah, and you're not the only one who's been confused by what he's seen from the Browns. Ryan Clark, a guy we respect immensely, does a phenomenal job for ESPN. His quote was puzzling. He's puzzled by what he's seen from the Browns this year. And you speak of the 2019 season, and that's where we will go to right now at 2-5. The season is hanging in the balance as the Browns head to Denver next Sunday afternoon, late afternoon. Then you've got the Bills at home. The Bills did lose to the Eagles today, but they're a respectable team. They've only lost twice. And then you've got the Steelers at home in prime time before you get treated to the Miami Dolphins. That 3-game stretch there, the Browns, I want to say, almost have to win 2 and preferably 3.
All 3. You got to win all 3, D-man. Now, at this point, 2-5, you got to win all 3 of those games. I'm sorry. You've got to win all 3 of those games. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I know you got to get the first one before you can win 3 in a row. I understand that. But Denver, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Miami, Pittsburgh. That's 5 right there. Cincinnati, Arizona. Think about this. I will say this. Buffalo, because of their record, yeah, okay, maybe they look. But no, you've got to find – that's at home. Buffalo's not as good as their record indicates, in my opinion. That's a home game for you. And you've got to find a way to win that tough one sandwiched in between some of these cupcakes that are left on your schedule. So for me, D-man, it's 7-2 down the stretch. And the games that, can they beat Pittsburgh twice in the same season? We'll see. That maybe is one loss. Baltimore, Baltimore knows how important that last game or second to last game could be because the Browns already defeated them. And they don't want to give the Browns the tiebreaker should they end up tied in the division. You know what I mean? Because Baltimore's schedule gets tougher in the second half. But for me, you've got to get back to 500 at 5-5 through 10 games. So that means you have to win the next 3 games, D-man.
All right, Roadman. So I'm going to play an imaginary scenario here, hypothetical. Let's suppose you are called in by Jimmy and Dee Haslam to address the team on Monday afternoon. What are you going to tell the Cleveland Browns? And by the way, your audience is going to include the coaching staff.
So I'm not assuming somebody's role. They're just inviting talk show host Kenny Rhoda in to come talk to the Browns, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. What would I say to the Cleveland Browns? I would say get your heads out of your ass, wake the hell up, start focusing on things that matter, and do your job. That's the one thing Freddie has said that's accurate. They need to do their job, okay? But they're not. And here's the other thing I would say. And if it were up to me and you weren't doing your job, I don't care if you have a contract worth $90 million, if you got the most Instagram followers, Twitter followers. I don't care if you're the number 1 overall pick in whatever draft it was. I don't care if you think you're the greatest wide receiver in the history of the NFL, Odell Beckham Jr., and I would call him out by name. So it wouldn't be like I was afraid to, say it to him and I'd talk behind his back. I'd call him and say, look, you guys have to do your job. Focus on the little things, and every play matters to you if you're thinking of making the playoffs this year. And guess what? If you don't do your job, I'm going to put somebody else in there. You think Belichick gives a damn how much money you make and who you are? Hell no. So I'd light them all up, man. I'd put them all on notice and say, I'm going to bench your ass if you don't do your job. How about that?
There we go. Yeah, so you would come in as a guest speaker and you would morph into the head coach of the Browns, say, hey, Freddie, step aside for the last 9 games. I got it from here. But, yeah, I mean, maybe the Browns would be better. We well served to understand, look in the mirror and realize that, as I said to you on earlier shows, as the losses occurred, I'm tired of hearing about how talented this team is, how the individuals are good. I want to see the collective. I want to see a team go out from stem to stern and play well. And you know what? They did it once against viable competition.
And that's what's frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah. It's in there. It's in there. You've seen it for spurts. You saw it in one full game against the Ravens. I almost don't count the Jets because they were so banged up and they were playing their 3rd string quarterback by the end of the first quarter. So,
you know what else I forgot, D-Man? I tell Joe Batonio to get his head out of his rear end, too, because he kicked his own player, which caused a fumble. He missed the block on the shovel pass, which caused the interception. And then he gets called for a holding call on a screen pass to Chubb, who gains positive yards. And he's supposed to be the best offensive lineman on this team, and he had 3 major miscues in a big game like that. I'd wake his butt. I'd put him on notice, too, in front of everybody to let them know nobody from Baker to Miles to OBJ to Batonio to the Scottish Hammer, whoever, man.
No, don't be going after the Hammer. Don't be going after the Hammer or Austin the Kicker, Austin Seibert, because they've actually been good. But, yeah, I mean, if you're going to address the team and you're going to get into the team for being 2-5, you have to include everybody, in my opinion. You can't just say, well, I'm going to chew out the team but this guy, and this guy, you don't have to listen to me. No, it's got to be everybody. Even if you've had a reasonably good season to this point, you still have to be accountable with everybody else because your team is 2-5, and your team needs to be sick of losing. And this is it's got to be unacceptable. You have to go to Denver and find a way to win, even if it's ugly. Last year in Denver, it wasn't particularly pretty, but they found a way. That has to be your mentality this year. You can't be worried about how many touches am I getting, or how many of this or that, or who's getting the credit for this, or who am I going to blame if this goes wrong? No. You all go there to win. Figure out ways to win games, because that's all that matters in the NFL.
The other thing I tell those guys, D-Man, anybody else decides to bring a gift package to a player we're playing against and wants to give it to them after the game, don't even get on the damn bus. Don't even get on the damn plane. You can keep your ass back in Cleveland, because you ain't going to be coming to any stadium where you've already got it in your mind, regardless of win or loss. I'm presenting somebody with a gift or a package of worship to that player. I don't need any more of that crap either. I point that out to, man, I'd just go off, man. You think they let me come talk to the team? I'd love to go talk to the team.
You would have to be very quiet about your the fact that you follow the Steelers closely.
Why? I haven't been quiet for 30 years about it. Everybody knows, D-Man. I ain't afraid to hide behind that. There are some other people in this town that don't really cheer for the Browns. They may work for the Browns or cover the Browns, but they have other allegiances, and they never bring it up. And I'm not going to name anybody. They don't want to bring it out. That's their, cup of tea, whatever. But I haven't hid behind that since I started in this business in 1986. I ain't going to hide now.
Well, Chase Smith, you have a job to do, and that is to chop up the Roadman sound and get it out to the public. What Kenny Rhoda would say to the 2-5 Browns if he got the opportunity, because that was an impressive display by the Roadman. And I think here's the thing: Roadman speaks for the frustrated Browns fan. I mean, he truly does, because we're not the only ones who see this. We see a team that is underachieving by record and a lot of other metrics. You can't tell me that the number one overall pick in the draft last year should be playing at this level in Baker Mayfield.
Good commercials, though, so far this year by Baker. Yeah, those are good.
Yeah, and I mean, I hear you. You bring that on yourself if you don't perform. Then the criticism is going to come, and people are going to take the pot shots and say, hey, if you spent more time preparing than you do making commercials, you'd be a better player. That happens when you don't produce. When you're the quarterback of a team with very high expectations entering the season, and your team is 2-5 through 8 weeks, then that criticism is going to come, and I don't think anybody has to tell Mayfield that. He knows it, but it's top to bottom. And actually, Roadman, we know that you wouldn't be invited into Lou Groza, even though you have very cogent points to make. But if I were John Dorsey, though, I would channel Kenny Rhoda, and I'd be like, I've had it. I've already had it with this crew. Yes, we went through a tough stretch of 5 games, 1-4, by the way. Yes, we're supposedly facing an easier schedule the remainder of the season, but I'm sick and tired of watching the crap that's being put out there, and X, Y, Z, and A, B, C are going to stop. We're going to do things differently from now on, and everybody's on notice, from Freddie Kitchens on down. That's what I would do if I were Dorsey. He's probably too level-headed, and he's so much more sophisticated than I am, and that's why he's a general manager and I'm not. But if I were Dorsey, I'd be fuming right now, because I'm sick and tired of watching this talent that I assembled underachieving.
D-Man, what do you think Jimmy Haslam and D. Haslam are thinking right now? After the way they finished the season last year, 7-8-1, good second half. They keep Freddie as their guys, their head coach. They bring in Wilkes, who's got head coaching experience as the D coordinator. By the way, I'm hearing this Munkin Kitchens collaboration is a complete disaster. All right, and that's from 2 very reliable sources, that Freddie Kitchens and Todd Munkin, who's the offensive coordinator, who doesn't do much of anything. I'm hearing that's a disaster. So, but you're coming into this season thinking, all right, we put a good coaching staff together. We got our quarterback. We got this. Then we're all set to roll. And now they're 2-5 after 7 games. Jimmy and Ms. D cannot be happy with John Dorsey. They cannot be happy with Freddie, and they can't be happy with the play. I'd love to hear what Jimmy thinks right now. Get him hooked up to a lie detector test and ask him some questions to think what he thinks the problem is.
And let me credit Jimmy and D here, because it would be easy for the owners of the franchise to pull the Jerry Jones and have a presser after every game. I appreciate the fact that Jimmy and D have by and large been quiet this year, and they've tried to let John Dorsey and his staff and Freddie Kitchens and his staff and the players do their thing. So that is to be commended, I think, Jimmy and D, for not grabbing every available microphone and going off and screaming and yelling. But
like I did.
But I hear you. No, but I hear you, though. If I own this team, forget John Dorsey. If I'm the owner of the team, I'm sick and tired of it too. And so, you wonder if Dorsey's getting an earful from the Haslams saying, what are we doing here? Why are we 2-5? The excuses and the whatever else it is, that's got to stop. We need to start winning now.
DMan, is Freddie in jeopardy at all? It's 7 games into his first ever head coaching tenure with the Braves. Is he in jeopardy at all?
At this moment, no. I don't believe that he is. And I, based on the evidence that's come through my TV set, I would agree with your sources, Roadman, that just the offensive philosophy of Monken and the offensive philosophy of Kitchens are not dovetailing. It's pretty evident. So you wonder what's happening there. But I don't think that Kitchens is in jeopardy for now. But I'll tell you this. You go to Denver and lay an egg, all bets are off. Sorry, they are. I really believe that. I am not an advocate of firing coaches. I'm not one of those guys, you got to get rid of them after every loss. No. But I'm simply saying, if they go to Denver, as I said, a good defensive team, but overall you got to beat them. You go to Denver and lose ugly.
Yeah.
And you come home 2-6 and the season's basically in the crapper, then who knows what might happen next. Now, Dorsey would say that's even at 2-6, that's nonsense. I'm committed to Freddie long-term. Okay, well, if you're committed to Freddie long-term, then you might have to do something about Monken. Or you might have to do something about offloading the play calling to Monken, or somehow Freddie, he can't do this. He's the head coach, but I was going to say, Freddie just calls the plays. That's all he has to do. But something would have to change, I would think, if you come home from Denver 2-6 and you were particularly bad against the Broncos.
I just don't think it's a coincidence that Steve Wilkes was added to this coaching staff as the defensive coordinator, but also with head coaching experience. I don't think that was an oversight. I think it was a factor in hiring him as the D coordinator with that other job title that's on his resume. Just me thinking out loud.
Yeah, well, as the safety valve in case things went off the rails. All right. Well, man, thank you so much for
hey, one more thing that I'd say in that locker room, okay? Myles Garrett, all right? Myles Garrett had his 10th sack of the year. So, Myles, what was he drafted to do? To sack the quarterback, right? But he talks about being defensive player of the year. I'm sorry, Myles Garrett, he can't hold Aaron Donald's jockstrap yet. Myles Garrett, he can't hold Khalil Mack's jockstrap yet. Nick Bosa is making more impact plays than Myles Garrett. Myles, the sacks are great, but I need you to impact the game, not just by sacking the quarterback. How about blowing up a run in the backfield for a tackle, for a loss, causing a fumble, tipping a ball at the line of scrimmage that gets intercepted. Don't give me a meaningless sack in the fourth quarter today look at my numbers. No, if he wants to be a defensive player of the year, he's got to impact the game in more ways than just sacking the quarterback. And I'm a Myles Garrett guy. I love the pick, and I think he's got all the potential in the world. But sacks aren't enough if you want to be considered in the conversation with the J.J. Watts, the Aaron Donalds, and the Khalil Macks and whoever else, the up-and-coming kids like Bosa and Chase Young, who's going to go drafted number 1 overall next year out of Ohio State.
I hear you, Roadman, and I am a Garrett guy, but I agree as well. He needs to be a disruptive force and more than just the sack category.
I've defended him through the first 6 weeks of the season because my partner JT on the Kenny and JT show on WHBC has been all over him, and I've defended him. I can't anymore. He's got to start making an impact more so than just sacking the quarterback. Okay, like Brady Quinn, D-Man. Now I'm done.
What a walk-off for the Roadman. It's up to Chase to sort through the nuggets, the gems from Kenny Rhoda, and let those nuggets get onto the Browns Twitter feed. All right, that'll about do it for the most recent episode of the Next Man Up podcast on the Press Play Podcast Network. co-host Kenny Rhoda, co-host Dennis Maniloff. and
Wait, I
producer
got
director-
one more thing
Wait
to
a
add
minute.
before I.
Oh, we're not done yet.
I'm just messing with you, D-Man. I'm
Oh.
just messing with you. But hey, thank God for the Buckeyes and McKinley Massillon Saturday, 2 p.m. on WHBC and WHBC.com. The greatest high school rivalry in the country. 9-0 Massillon, 8-1 McKinley. There's where you'll see some great football. So come watch it at Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium or listen to it on 1480 WHBC. Okay, now I'm done.
Sounds good to me. All right, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.